Guys, welcome to another edition of Founder Wisdom Podcast, Consulting Edition. We have Herman Errico today. He's CEO and founder at Blendgate, former consultant. We're going to talk about consulting. We're going to talk about marketplaces, platforms, startup tips, and everything in between. Herman, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about Blendgate?
Thanks for having me, Charles. Obviously, my name is Herman, and today I'm having a green T-shirt because it's St. Patrick's Day here in Ireland.
Yes.
Um,
Nice.
we're not fully celebrating because we have to, be there and build a platform.
Yeah.
But it's good to be in the spirit. But as you said, I've been working in consulting, technology consulting, lately with Ernest Young as a senior manager. And at some point, I just realized that consulting is definitely a very cool industry to be in. It gives you a lot of experience, a lot of expertise, but it's quite legacy. It's quite old. Things
Yeah.
are very slow. So I decided to come up with something different to just shake up a bit the industry. That's why we came up with the idea of Blendgate. Blendgate makes it easier for buyers and suppliers of consulting services to buy and sell those services. So to do that, we've built something slightly different, that it's not really a marketplace, but it's a market network. A market network is a blend between a marketplace, a professional network with a SaaS component, one for buyers and one for suppliers. So that's the overall idea of Blendgate and some of the thought process behind it.
First, I really like the name. Where did you get the name? How did you get the idea?
Well, the idea obviously didn't start as a marketplace. We wanted to do a integration platform as a service, which is a API integrator with machine learning and AI to just bring everything together, because we use a lot of software. But then that was a sort of an API integration nightmare. So we pivoted into something different, and we were trying to look for a name. Then we started with BLND. Then we went to BlendUp, and then there was a company that was called BlendUp, and then at some point we went Blendgate. There was a domain, blendgate.com. So there you go. Here we are.
Yeah, the hub names, I had them as well. Hub is cool. It's like GitHub, but I feel that like as companies like Pornhub are getting more traction nowadays, I try to avoid the hub in my startup names. And yes, I think the two syllable is always super valid. Blendgate, it's like, yeah, I love the blend of the two words, it's two syllables, super easy to remember. Now, for what you were mentioning with consulting, what is legacy about EY, KPMG, Deloitte, Bain, for example? So what is legacy about these brands? I mean, they make billions on a yearly basis, so still good businesses. What could be improved with these companies?
Well, you're right. The big four is the strategy consultants. They make billions of euro or dollars, depending on where you are, on a yearly basis. But the reality, when you work with those companies, is that the type of delivery is always sometimes done through PDF, email. There's no portal, there's no digitalized process. It's very slow. So these are some of the legacy challenge from a really technology perspective. The other way is that because they're so big, it takes a long time to innovate or come up with new ideas. So that's why it gets quite complex for them to expand into service lines. And to do that, then you have to continue to keep up the pace with hiring new consultants. But it's such a stressful job that at some point people leave. So it's a machine that has to move. It's a huge machine. So these are some of the legacy considerations of that. But out there are so many other great companies that have the expertise, but they don't have the visibility to engage with valuable clients.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, you were mentioning the hourly thing with the consultants, which in my opinion is so outdated, bill as many hours as possible, which is pretty much, yeah, like archaic as a model. What should
Yeah.
consultants do when it comes to this? Should they build their time? Should they build a fixed price? Should they go with monthly recurring revenue? I wrote a post yesterday saying that consultants were mostly useful on the short term. Yes, the long term. If you want to go long term, well, you hire an employee. So what pricing model should be put forward by most consultants nowadays?
That's an interesting question. Now, before I delve into that, I just want to say that the likes of the big fours or the strategy consulting firms, I think they're still doing a great job, right? But they're constrained by the amount of consultants they have in their practice, and that dictates the amount of revenue they can make. So the more if they want to grow, they need to hire more. So that is a constraint that you can't really go beyond because it's knowledge-based delivery. So opposed to that, there is a new way of doing that, which is could be a recurring revenue, but then there is no market because consulting is usually a on-demand activity. It's a pool of resources. So to achieve that, there's an approach that is called asset-based consulting. So that is, for example, you digitize a process or a delivery of a consulting activity through either a predefined document, say a Word template, or a software that you can still deliver X amount of consulting, but you're not constrained by people's time. So you can actually resell that asset as many times as you want.
And aren't consultants the first one of thinking that? Why are these big four not thinking of this in the first place?
Yeah, well, they are. In fact, that if you see some of the tools that big fours or other consulting firms are creating, they are creating customer portals, they're creating assessment tools, delivery tools, or try to automate the process. So everyone's trying to go in that direction. But the main challenge is that it's to create a product, you need a team and you need a set of people that have certain skills to be able to build a product. But the reality is that it takes so long to develop a product that when the market needs it, you don't have that skill set available. So you still have to revert back to the old model. Now, with the likes of ChatGPT or generative AI, then maybe we can go into the space of asset-based consulting probably more frequently. But I can make a distinct example on where this makes sense.
Yep.
Now, cloud computing is a space where, let's say, if we put a cloud computing into cybersecurity, and the main attack vector is always cloud misconfiguration. That if we take cloud computing, cybersecurity, and misconfiguration, and we put it into how asset-based consulting can help, then you have pre-configured cloud environment that you can buy from a portal, such as the Azure Marketplace. So that's where it's already happening, but we need to identify ways to use that basic consulting because it would improve the bottom line of consulting firms.
Love it. And yeah, ChatGPT, I feel that if a consulting firms write all their SOPs and have all their documents in one place, you have ChatGPT going through this, or whatever app will do it. And I believe it can produce a specific Deloitte AI bot consultant. And that bot can add huge values to companies. We've seen Google and Microsoft produce AIs that produce slides, and consultants are pretty much known for their slides presentation. So I feel that this could be, and I mean, they could sell it from a monthly subscription, have access to the Deloitte bots that will give you X report per month and will advise you on Y strategy. Do you feel that's doable? What is the edge that human consultants have? Is it creativity? Is it because from a data perspective, the bot will win all the time, right? So can consultants stand a chance against AI?
That's a great question. So I see three distinct components here. So the first one is right now, I don't see consulting firms throwing all their knowledge base into a engine such as OpenAI, because then they lose the sort of IP element of those assets, right? So it's one component of intellectual property. So I would see this only if companies would have a way to ensure that that knowledge stays within the firm first. Second is, will there ever be a virtual bot consultant at some point that will solve basic tasks? Absolutely, there will. It will be, because it's already there. Microsoft have launched their assistant the other day that essentially does the autopilot on what you can do with your Office 365. So that's already been done. So I think that is a feasible way. The other way, why are consultants, will consultant be better than AI? I think some consultants will. So probably the industry will change dramatically, going to a different direction, where only the super specialized, super niche, super focused consulting will only be relevant, because then if you have an engine, you can ask a question, why do you even need a consultant then, right? But a consultant really gets that creativity in there in the mix of a company, and that is the value. Now, maybe one day generative AI will be as creative and as intelligent as the human brain. Then at that point, maybe we can have another conversation. But the way it is right now, I think that it would probably be unlikely that consultants will be replaced by an AI
Yeah,
in the near future.
I think like first, most human brains aren't that like smart. Second, I think consultants' brain are smart, but in some specific areas. If you put all of the brains together, you get a super brain, and you get um you get a correlation between some areas of knowledge, which is hyper powerful. So which is why I think, yeah, AI is so much more capable and scalable. That being said, we've seen a bunch of big companies pivot to AI this year. Even, for example, Facebook. I mean, Zuck is switching straight up from the metaverse to AI, which is, it's so interesting and will be the object of a next LinkedIn post of mine. You as a business owners, you double down on platforms and marketplace, which are still very much valid. Doesn't mean that AI change everything, but will you pivot more towards AI, and how, and what do you recommend other business owners that haven't been AI focused in the last couple of years? Do you recommend to them that they pivot straight up, or that they continue and think more about it?
Again, very well thought consideration. Now, my view is, if you've never used AI in your company, then probably you should consider start with business intelligence. Don't go straight into AI, because people are just trying to make a leap between, I have no data engineers and I have no data structure, no data warehouse, no data in my business, and I just want to go from one to rock stars. That's not going to work. So try to some basic things in place first, and then you can explore AI. In our case, yes, we're exploring AI. We're going to be launching a digital assistant on Blendgate shortly that is AI based. It will help you find company easier. But another thought process is really, it's too early to jump on the bandwagon of AI with your business. And I would probably advise company to just not jump in there just yet, because there are things that we've not understood yet about what are the security implications, what are the intellectual property contractual, whatever implications of using AI. So I think companies they need to wait a little bit without just making too sharp moves.
Interesting. Well, that podcast was way too short. We need to do a second edition, but where can people find out more about you, Herman?
Well, absolutely. So, first, if you haven't heard about Blendgate, well, you've now go to blendgate.com. That is blendgate.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Herman Errico. That's my name. And yeah, just let's get in touch. And if you have a consulting company, I'll be happy to speak with you. Or if you're a buyer, it's free for you to use Blendgate. So just go there and have a look.